This lesson covers the outer document containers, HTML and body and head. Open the examples folder, and in the doc type folder, open the transitional HTML document. The document itself begins with the HTML tag and ends at the HTML end tag. That is the outer HTML container. Everything within that constitutes the actual HTML document, or XHTML document if you prefer. The things above that are really administrative, declaring what sort of language the rest of the document is written in. The document itself is all within this HTML outer container. There are two containers within the HTML container, and they are head and body. Body goes down here a little bit further. There we go. The head container has the informational content for the browser, things like the title element, things like meta tags, things like link tags, which would tell the document to link to, say, a style sheet. Those are the things that go inside the head container. The title element is required. The other ones are all optional. The title element gives the document a title. And if you bring this document up in a web browser, you'll see that title goes right here, doc type transitional. The body of the document is all contained within the body element, the body container. The body tag itself can have different attributes that describe the body itself. For instance, the BG color attribute, which tells the background of the document to be white. Well, notice the background of the document here is white. Now, white also happens to be how this browser is set. Normally, what I do, just to make sure I don't forget everything, is I turn off the Use System Colors in my browsers, and I leave the background as gray. In the old days, browsers used to come this way off the shelf. That way, if I have a document where I forget to put in a color, it'll remind me by coming up gray. And when I surf around the web like this, I see lots of documents out there that really count on the fact that people's backgrounds are white by default. They have images that have white anti-aliasing around the outsides. They have black text. What if somebody had their background set to default to black? They wouldn't be able to read any of the text on these web pages. So it's always a good idea to include the BG color. This is another reason that I use the transitional version of the DTD, because in the strict version, the BG color is not allowed. But because people are still using web browsers that were made before last week, and because they don't all have them set up the way that I set up mine, it's a good idea to use the transitional, or at least I find it a good idea to use the transitional version of the DTD and to include a BG color. It's also not a bad idea to include some of these other attributes. Text equals black. This sets the text color, because you remember I could have a different color of text in my preferences for my browser. And all these same preferences exist also for Internet Explorer. But I can set my text here to default to white if I want to. And then if I remove the text from the body tag, now my text comes up white. And if I didn't have a color around that table, like I do here, remove that, you wouldn't be able to see the text at all. So I'll go return the preferences. Frankly, I think it's extreme to set my text color to white, so I don't really surf the web that way. And there it comes up in black there. And I'll put this back because we'll be talking about that a little bit later. So it's not a bad idea to also specify your text color. There are other attributes that you can put in the body tag as well, but these are the ones that are the most common and the most useful for general purpose web page building. Within the content of the document, most of these elements will be covered in a lot more detail in later lessons. There's the center tag. And again, this is not allowed in the strict version of the DTD, but I find it useful sometimes. There are other ways to do it that are considered more acceptable by some in the web design community. I find center to be really easy, and it's so widely used out there. I don't expect the browsers to stop supporting it anytime soon. So I say go ahead and use it. Then there's a table, which is used to enclose this block of text. And these are all things that the transitional allows that the strict does not. This is a useful way of making a document that has something centered that's in a different color that works on a lot of browsers all the way, back to the mid-90s when the browsers were new. So there's the basic elements of a typical XHTML document.